Hari Om, Pranam everybody. So welcome to the program, and today what I would like to do is, just before I start, we'll start off with a prayer. Usually it's a teacher-student prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So welcome to this talk, and the talk is about education system in India, that is the Gurukulam system previously, and the curriculum system we have now, and just talking about the future of our children. So I started off by asking a quiz on the forum, and the quiz was about a few questions that asked, and these are questions that I asked my parents when I was a child, and our future generation also asks us sometimes from time to time. Question is, how big or old is Hinduism, or why do we have so many religious books? It's often confusing as to which is the book. You ask one person, they say Bhagavad Gita, one says Ramayana, one says Vedas. So which is the book to read first? And how come there are no founders for Hinduism? And it is an anomaly that I found as a child, that every other religion has a founder. We don't have, is it Vyasa? Is it Krishna? Is it Rama? We don't know. So why do Hindus worship so many gods? Isn't there just one God? Or bigger perplexing question is, how come everybody is a Hindu? As in, I can be an atheist, I can be a pluralist, an animist. In my own life, I was an atheist and anti-theist. At some point, I was an agnostic. Am I a Hindu? And then, how come you're not an organized religion? This is something I asked myself. And these are all questions that I used to ask. And I'm pretty sure that our kids who are growing up in Canada are also asking the same thing. So I want to start with an analogy that Swami Vivekananda used in his address to the Parliament of Religions. And that was about something called a frog in the well, a Kupa Manduka. But I kind of changed the analogy to suit the questions here. And we'll see the story. I'll tell it in the form of a story. Once there was a bird that was caged. So it was born in the cage, and I think its mother's laid the eggs in the cage. It was born in captivity. It grew up in captivity. And all it knew was its master. Master comes, feeds it, cleans it. If it's naughty, just, punishes it. And it sings, entertains the master. And it knew nothing outside of the cage. And one day, there was a bird from outside that just came and sat next to the caged bird. And they had a conversation. This bird was kind of confused seeing the free bird. It doesn't understand freedom yet. So it asked, hey, how big is your cage? And the free bird said, what cage? I don't have a cage. The universe is my cage. I fly anywhere I want. I sit anywhere I want. And the caged bird still doesn't get it. It says, what do you mean you don't have a cage? Everybody has a cage. Because it was born that way, it doesn't understand what freedom means. It says, okay, if you don't have a cage, smart aleck, tell me who is your master. And the other bird says, I don't have a master, I'm free. Freedom means that you report to yourself. Now, I can do what I like, when I like, and how I like it. And this bird still is in disbelief. It says, you have no cage and you have no master. Then who cleans you? Who feeds you? And who talks to you? How do you imitate? Do you even know what to imitate? And the free bird says, you know what? I have a lot of friends, my own kind, that I talk to. And we all fly around together. Sometimes I fly north, sometimes I fly south. I've seen many countries. I eat many fruits. I explore. And I sleep when I sleep. And when I die, I die. And that's what life is. And then it says, I'm free. I've always been free. And freedom is my identity. I have the freedom to eat what I want, sleep where I want, and fly where I want. I have no masters, no restrictions, no cage nor constrictions. I am free. Freedom is my identity. Now, This is a quote I thought that fit aptly. A caged mind repeats the song it listens to. A free mind creates its own songs. It sings to the music and dances to it. So let's not be a prisoner of our own thought and justify as to, how many gods we have or who our founder is or prophet is or where we come from, right? So when you talk to a normal person, a human being, we are from a religion. No, I won't say even religion. Religion is an extremely bad word for me. We are from a civilization that has freedom at the core of its value. So here's a quote. A civilization that has freedom at the core of its value is sure or certain to have an education system that resolves or revolves around the freedom of thought. And that is how a Gurukulam was designed to be. More with freedom of thought and exploratory nature at the center or the core of its learning. We'll see how different it is from the curriculum system. Now, I want to make sure that this topic or this talk is by no way targeting or comparing other systems or even the curriculum system. The reason I'm going to talk about more on the Gurukulam side, and it's going to be heavily towards the Gurukulam side, is because all of us are products of the curriculum system. We know exactly how the curriculum system works. Few of us understand how the Gurukulam system works, and we have a lot of questions or even myths as to what a Gurukulam system is, and the do's and don'ts, or so many things that we're not sure of. And those are the things we're trying to explore. And we'll come back to curriculum system as a very superficial comparison, but in no way it actually demeans or criticizes the curriculum system, because that is an important thing to have at this day and age. But we are just trying to explore if the curriculum model that we currently have is the right thing in preparing our children for a future world. Having said that, we'll go on to the first and primordial guru. Every Gurukula has a guru. That's how it's called Gurukula. And every teacher you can think of was once a student. And that teacher was once a student. It goes on till you come to the teacher of all teachers. And who is the teacher of all teachers? In Hinduism, we call him Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti is the personification of Guru. And I can go into this in detail in a different session. But for here, I'm going to talk about the particular shloka given here, which is Chitram Vatataror Mule, Vriddha Sishya Gurur Yuva, Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam, Sishyastu Chinna Sanshayaha. Meaning, under the banyan tree, there is sitting a very young person. The teacher is young and the students are old. Look at this perplexing thing. It's so odd, so weird that the teacher who is young is silent and the students have no doubts in their mind. He is clearing all their doubts through silence. That doesn't make sense, does it? When you have a question, you need to have an answer. But this is a representation of a Gurukula, and we will see how this ties with Gurukula as we go on. The questions will be answered. And one thing I want to show before we move on is the person under the feet of Dakshinamurti is Apasmara. Apasmara literally means is ignorance. So ignorance is being pushed down by the Guru, and the definition of a Guru is the remover of ignorance. Having said that, with salutations to Dakshinamurti, we'll move on. Okay. A Gurukulam. Gurukulam literally means Kula is a family, or it's a family. So Gurukulam is Guru's family. So in a Gurukulam, usually it's Antyavasam. So it could be under a tree. It could be a widespread ashram like Vasishta and other rishis had, or it could be international multiversities like Varanasi or Nalanda or Takshashila. And there was no particular structure as to how a Gurukulam was, but most of the cases, one guru would have one or more sishyas who would be staying with him, which is called Antyavasa, and they would learn by being coached, and through the grace of the guru will monitor them, mentor them, and prepare them for real life. Now, I want to say that in cases of international multiversities, we also had meticulously maintained libraries. Most of the libraries, or most of the knowledge in the libraries, the books, were either physically destroyed, or sadly, they were destroyed by termites for those who already had them. Some of the people who had it through from generations sadly even throw it away because it's just sitting in the attic doing nothing, and the rest of the knowledge is fading away because we are committing a major crime by not learning them, not propagating them. So we should learn, we should all become learners, and this particular talk is a way of encouraging ourselves to say, I need to preserve something that has been given to us through millennia, and it is my responsibility to at least study it, appreciate it, even if I don't understand it, give it to the next generation so that they can understand or propagate to the next generation. Having said that, we come back to the arrangement of a Gurukulam. We think a Gurukulam is just an old man with a beard sitting under a tree teaching. There are multiple types of guru. When I say guru, a teacher. The first and foremost guru, well, you'll see later as to it's the second guru, is the father. So father is a teacher in a Kula Dharma or Kula Vidya. It is called the hereditary education system. So whatever the father has learned from his father will be translated or will be transmitted to his son or children. And this was across all professions. And next comes Adhyapaka. Adhyapaka is an instructor. Adhyapaka would be more like a primary school teacher if you can compare that now. So Adhyapaka would teach you or instruct you in Veda, Vedanga, which includes the Nyaya, Vyakarana, etc. Sorry, Vyakarana, Siksha, Kalpa, etc. Next, these Adhyapakas were of two types. One is the Upadhyaya and the Acharya. Upadhyaya was more on theoretical, spiritual education. Acharya is practical skill training. Acharati, Acharya, is one who makes you walk the path by practical skills training. One of the famous examples is Dronacharya. Right? And then Bhrataka is a hired teacher. Udita is a professor. And Guru, we have already talked before, is a remover of ignorance. Now, when I say remover of ignorance, what does the Guru do? He doesn't, swing a magic wand and all your ignorance is removed. It simply means that the Guru asks the right question or positions you at the right time, at the right place for your ignorance to be removed. Because all of us learn through the bias we have cultivated in the past and experiences other people had that we let in through our biases. For example, if I'm biased towards or against something, let's say I am biased against spiders. Assume, like I'm just throwing in a... If you tell me the good things about a spider, I'm not going to allow that to enter my brain. However, I love snakes. Anything you tell me that's partial to snakes will automatically be observed by me. So that's called a bias-based learning. And a guru first removes the biases, then removes the ignorance. And in sometimes it doesn't have to be limited to an instruction. It could be Guru Kripa. Like we have seen before, a simple silence or the presence of a guru is enough to remove that ignorance. Now, what is the objective of a Gurukulam? The primary focus of a Gurukulam, of learning, was character building. Character building is based on dharma. Kindness, respect. Respect your guru, respect your fellow classmates, respect the animals, respect trees, plants, nature in general, right? Respect, hard work, simple living, high thinking. And these were essential. Honesty in your word. So your word basically means something. And this produced good citizens, reliable citizens, and transaction within a society became much easier, which means you have less need for a prison system, more trust-based open society. So character building is an extremely important thing that I think sometimes is missing in education. So currently, kids think cheating is okay to get past an exam, but that was not allowed in the past. Without character, education is useless, right? And humility was extremely important. Vidya dadati vinayam. Vinayat yati patratam. So very important. And the learning was also student-centric learning, which means the students were trained to be physically and mentally capable first. So it's not like you group a bunch of people and throw information at them and assume that everybody got it. So you prepare a child in yoga, meditation, pranayama, or even observance of nature until they were able to focus and develop internally before they could grasp things that were told by the teacher. Because remember, this was started at a time where scripts were not available, or scripts were not used. I won't say not available. Scripts were not used. Scripts were not required. The Vedas, for centuries upon centuries, were transmitted by word of mouth. So a child was taught to remember volumes and volumes of Vedic chanting by memory. It is not just one Veda. It is Veda Pramanas, the Vedangas, the Tarka, the Ganapatas of those. So everything was by memory. And that was, it's amazing how much a person could remember. I'm not just digressing a little bit. There were also a very common thing back in the past of something called avadhana. Avadhana is your attention, memory retention, where a person could concentrate on multiple things at the same time. It could be, multiple subjects thrown at him. It could be physical touch while the subjects were thrown. And I'll go into it in one of the talks, but for now, just understand, there are people who can concentrate on 5,000 different things at the same time happening. And this was a skill that was very important and applicable and not just an exercise. Okay. So far, everybody is clear, or am I going too fast?
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Okay. And next was students were required to learn the dignity of labor, which means every student would be assigned a task, like go cut wood, herd the cows, clean the ashram, go help the Guru Patni for cooking. You have to serve, seva bhava. And it did not matter whether you are the son of a king or you're a son of a poor Brahmana. It doesn't matter. You would be taught how to live or coexist with your classmates. And this dignity of labor is, so that there's no air of superiority among the students. And the last one was, not last one, next thing was sushrusha. In Tamil, we call it Sisarusha. It's basically sushrusha. It is service to the Guru and service for elders. Now, if you look at Chanakya Niti, he also talks about the key to a king's learning or the kingdom's survival is seva to the elders and seva to Guru. Sadly, this is slowly being forgotten in our society with old age homes cropping up. Unfortunate. But seva and service to our elders is something we need to do proactively in order to understand our own heritage. People who cannot respect the elders have respect for nothing. Next, Gurukulams. What did the Gurukulams teach? Did the Gurukulams teach only Vedic chanting? Well, I put a few that I could think of. It's just filling a page, but bear with me. In addition to the Vedas, they also taught Vedanga. Vedangas are Siksha, Chandas, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Kalpa, and Jyotisha, as we saw last week in Veda Parichaya by Girishji. Then we also had the Darshana, and we have architecture. There were schools for the Shilpis, Vastu Shastra, the Shilpa Vidya, Samudrika Lakshana, which is physiology or physiognomy, and then you have how to design a city design, those kind of things. Dhanur Vidya, that is warfare strategies, vyuha formations, and the leadership, inventory. It's a whole bunch of things that just goes deep and deep into. The more you go into Dhanur Vidya, it goes into the nuts and bolts of warfare. It's not just warfare, but security, offense and defense. Then when I talk about Navy, it was not just going on a ship. It's about how to build a ship, how to manage a port, the taxation in the port, the naval warfare, the navigation, negotiations, everything comes under the naval. Medicine, you have Ayurveda, Chikitsa, Bhuta Vaidya, Siddha, and Sushruta. Now, one thing I want to bring to attention is the word Bhuta Vaidya here. Many people think Bhuta Vaidya literally means driving away ghosts. In ancient India, Bhuta Vaidya was psychology. That's what it was called. Panchabhuta, but Bhuta Vaidya is psychology. Okay, nothing to do with voodoo and magic. Natya Shastra, all of you know. Then Gandharva Vidya, instrumentals. And if you look at some of the texts, you have the 64 kalas, including tattooing and other things, arts. And then you have public administration, which is Rajaniti, Rajadharma. Now, I talked about warfare, which is on a larger scale, but you also had schools, different schools of close combats. Kalaripayattu and Silambam in the South India, and Thangtha in Manipur. Then you have Mushti Yuddha, Malay Yuddha, and other things. Now, unfortunately, I don't know much about the regional close combat styles of every province in India. This is something that others in the forum can contribute to and say what are the close combat styles in their own region. And that could be in the forum, not in the chat here. You could put it here, but I would like to have it documented somewhere. And there were other things like gemology, astronomy. I don't have to read this, but just go over this. If you go over Chandogya Upanishad, where Narada talks to Sanat Kumara, it's called Bhauma Vidya, where Sanat Kumara asks, hey Narada, Narada actually comes and says, there's a digression again. Narada is unhappy. He goes to Sanat Kumara and says, Sanat Kumarji, you're my guru. So please teach me, I'm unhappy. And before teaching, Sanat Kumara asks, tell me what you have learned before or what you know already. Based on that, I will tell you further. And Narada gives, 2-3 paragraphs full of such things. I know gemology or astronomy, I know Sarpa Vidya, Gandharva Vidya, this Vidya, that physics, you name it, he knows everything. He says, in spite of knowing all these things, I'm unhappy. So if you take a look at that list, this page or this session is not enough to cover the number of subjects that have been taught in the Gurukulas in the past. So I'm just giving you a very small, microscopic view of the vast body of knowledge that existed in the past. Now the question is, how does Gurukulam differ from modern day curriculum system? Now I'm going to do an apples to oranges comparison. It's not exactly the same, except that they're both educational systems. There's going to be some difference between the two, but it's not a one-to-one comparison. Neither is it a criticism of one or the other. This is only to understand the Gurukulam system. And I'm highly biased in explaining more about the Gurukulam system because the topic is the Gurukulam system. Okay. So characteristics of Gurukulam was, by the time a child was 16, they would be real world ready. So after the Upanayana, so the primary education was done, and then Upanayana, the teacher takes in, and then the basic Vedas and the mathematics and such things were taught. And very interestingly, based on the child's aptitude for learning and patience, usually by the age of 16, the education would be done. And then the child goes on to whatever profession they want to, if they are. If the aptitude or the child was not ready, they would be retained no matter how long till the graduation. So it was not like you would be graduated at 16, but most age, once you're graduated, you're done, you're real world ready. Whereas in the modern system, real education starts at 16. The K to 12 is the preparatory, and after that, the higher education actually propels you towards either medicine or law or other things, right? Second, and a very big differentiator is in the Gurukulam system, you are first tested and then taught. So the teacher would ask you a question, and based on how you answer, you would be accepted and taught, or based on your answer, you'd be sent off to a different branch where they would teach you. And in the curriculum system, you're first taught and tested what you're taught. Correct me if I'm wrong. At any point, I may be wrong, because this is, again, my perception. Then, in the olden days, a student used to etch their own education path. I'll tell you what I mean by this. Meaning, like, I want to learn music, or my talent is towards music. I'm not. I have a horrible voice, but this is an example. So if a student is interested in music, they would go to a music teacher, and then once they finish the basic, they would go to a higher, they would learn something more deeper on that, or this gharana or that gharana, and they would learn yakshagana or something. So the student defines their path and goes from teacher to teacher seeking knowledge in order to complete the education. Whereas in standard, it's all, there's a standardized K to 12 path, and there's a slight similarity as to the student has a choice to etch their path, but that's based on standardized test, and most importantly, affordability of the student. Meaning, even a bright student who wants to take law in Harvard may not be able to afford it, because either they didn't get the right marks at the right time, or they can't afford to go there. One of the two. So we'll come to see why that is in a couple of points later. And this is one thing I really liked, was students were taught how to learn. We'll see this in detail later. But when I give you an apple, I'll come here and then I'll go back. So students were taught what to learn. So when a teacher teaches, or when my teachers used to teach me when I was a kid, I was told Newton was sitting under a tree, and then an apple fell on his head, and then the idea of gravity came to him. All the story was necessary to tell me what gravity is 9.8 meters per second square. That would have been much easier. But I was taught what to learn, not how to learn. Meaning, it's not like you throw an apple, you see how it falls, and you tell me what gravity is, or how to measure gravity. There was, I was told what to do, what to think. And here, a student is shown an apple. For example, I'm just giving a blind example here. And a teacher will ask, what can you learn from this apple? One student will say, I know how to make a salad with this apple. Another student will say, I know how to draw this apple. Another will say, I know how to make this into a measuring thing. So you can learn physics from it, you can learn art from it, you can learn cooking from it, or you can learn chemistry of an apple, you can dissect it, you can do farming with it, you can grow an apple tree out of it. So it depends on the creative learning of the students on how to see a subject. So for example, in Shilpa Kala, you show a stone and ask the student, how do you deal with it? An open question. There won't be a closed question as to you build this. It'll be an open question. When the student graduates, then that's a different thing. And schools were supported by householders, temples, and kings. Grihasthas used to be the major contributors in supporting the brahmacharis. Brahmacharis used to go out, and they were expected to go out and beg bhavati viksham dehi, and the householders would provide. The temples had manyas, which would be given to schools. And this actually meant that research and education was pretty much unhindered. There was no budget limit to it. So students were free to enroll anywhere they want. There was a Guru Dakshina at the end, but that was different. That was based on your graduation and your capabilities. But the main point is, any student loan did not hamper a student from learning. It was only their aptitude or their interest. That's it. Here, the same thing. K to 12 is supported by taxpayers, which is a great thing. And higher education requires either a scholarship, which is good, or student loans. Now, imagine a world where money is given more for universities in order to prepare the next generations or upcoming generations to be great thinkers. That would be an investment, not an expenditure. And that is where the society has to move, right? And this is the right thinking that I need to plant in for everybody to start thinking, education is an expenditure or is it an investment? It's a question. And then we also had a culture of learning versus culture of teaching. Gurukulams did not expect teachers or the gurus to teach their students. Whenever a student asks a question, the guru's answer would be, you find the answer. We will see that later as an example, full example in itself. But the exploratory teaching was the norm. So students were not told what to think, and it was more experiential and exploratory. Some more differences are, in a curriculum system, it's basically, this is again, I'm referring back to a talk by Sir Ken Robinson, who had a fantastic talk on TED Talk. And it's called Shifting Paradigms, Shifting Paradigms on Education or Rethinking Education. So basically he says that it doesn't matter what your IQ is. If you're born in a certain year, then this is when you go to school. And you sit in a class with similar people born in that calendar year. And if your aptitude is much higher than that grade, you're stuck there. And if it's much lower, you're stuck there. Meaning they treat all the kids of the same age as the same batch. And it's more move it along like an assembly line. And you have to watch that. I'll kind of post that. Just remind me, I'll post that in the forum, or I'll give it to the NAHA host who can post it in the forum later. Whereas in the Gurukulam, it was holistic processing, which means Ekachandagrahi, which means a very brilliant student would pass out faster. And if they can finish their education by the age of 8, they're done. Like Shankaracharya. He went for higher education when he was 8. And he graduated by the time he was 12, I think. And he started writing bhashyas for Vishnu Sahasranama and all by the time he was 12. And there are others who spent, years upon years, probably like 20, 30 years in the Gurukula. I'll talk about Indra's Gurukula in a bit. But the idea is every child was treated in their own right. And that's what I mean by holistic. And they could not graduate till the teacher felt they are ready for graduation. Now, with unlimited schooling time, I'll come back to a story, but with curriculum, it's a K to 12, that's the mandatory learning. And then the higher education is optional. You can go or you may not, depending on the education system. So when I say unlimited schooling time, Indra is the god of Devas. So I'll go back to an Upanishadic story. I think we're good on time. Okay. So I'll make it fast, or probably I'll keep this to the Q&A time. Remind me later. Okay. So basically Indra was in an Antyavasa with Dadichi Munivar or Dadichi Muni for 101 years. Creative answers are encouraged in Gurukulam, whereas confirm. So basically, if I write a very creative answer, you'll see all those jokes, right? Where is X and find X, and then there'll be a guy who says this is X. So those are very creative, out-of-the-box answers, and these are not encouraged by the curriculum system, unfortunately. Because as you go into SAT tests, you have to take out one of 4 A, B, C, D choices, and that's actually measured by a computer. So it makes it easy for a computerized test to be standardized rather than creative. So you have 4 answers, you have to pick one, and one of them is correct. It doesn't matter if you have a better solution to it. And this is again my own bias, that's why I put a plus here. Gurukulam students study to understand the concepts, whereas curriculum, most people understand or study to understand exams, or at least I'm an example. There might be other exceptions. And then experience versus customized syllabus. So when I say that, the guru's experience versus the syllabus was very much customized to the student, as opposed to a centralized book being given to a school where the teachers teach them and has to finish it within the academic year. testing, standardized test versus random aptitude test that was based on applied knowledge. And exploratory learning, I'll come to the story here. Now, this is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, Bhrigu. Bhrigu is the son of Varuna. So he wants to understand purpose of life. What are these animals, or what are human beings? What are the beings interested in? Why are they living? Why are they born? Why do they die? What are they living for? What is the purpose of life? And Varuna, the father, and also the guru, he does not give the answer and say, go to section 5, page 23, and you'll get the answer there. He just said, why don't you go and explore it yourself? So Bhrigu went. He saw the animals, and every animal is eating. Worm is eating something, and then something eats the worm, and something eats the worm. So he came back and said, every animal lives for food. They move towards food. They eat, they live because of food. And they multiply, proliferate because of food, because food keeps them alive. And the guru did not say yes, correct, or wrong. He says, why don't you go and explore some more? And Bhrigu did. Then he found that every animal, they're satisfied with food, but they want to preserve their life. They're afraid of dying. When a lion comes, a deer runs away. So he says prana. Prana is very important, and all animals want to preserve their life, and that's why they're living. And Varuna said, go and explore some more. And Bhrigu did that, comes back and says, it's because everyone has a mind. They want to think, they want to feel loved. They want to belong somewhere. And Varuna says, think some more, explore some more. So Bhrigu goes back and comes back. I'm going to cut down on the going back, coming back, but Bhrigu says, I've done it. So I think they want ambition in life. They want to drive towards something. They want leadership. They want to be the first. And Varuna says, a little more, go ahead, explore some more. And then finally, Bhrigu gets it. He knows that every animal lives for happiness, ananda. So he comes back and says, I understand. Everybody lives for ananda. And then the father says, perfect, now you understood it. So it took 5 tries for the kid to understand, or the student to understand. And the coach, the father, was encouraging and did not answer a question, did not ask a counter question. He just said, go and explore till you get it. Modern day kids would be frustrated with their father. Dad, you don't know anything. And I'll go ask uncle or internet. But that was not the case. It is exploratory learning. And it was sincere learning to find an answer. And that was the way of Gurukulam. Now, if I show you this picture, you'll tell me it's New Age. Manomaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, okay, it's New Age. Now, what I do, I convert it into a triangle, put it here, convert that into, hierarchy. And now that's fit for an MBA. Now you read this as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's exactly the same thing. You have the physical, you have the pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, anandamaya. This was New Age, and this is MBA worthy. It's all in the messaging and how you understand it. It's all that matters. Now, next question was, were girls allowed? Was girl education allowed in ancient India? Meaning, when did girls start attending schools? As a child, I used to think girls were not allowed to visit Gurukula, and mostly it was all boys only. And when you see any TV serial, it was on boys only. Probably girls were educated by their mothers at home. Really? Let's see. Okay. First, we start with Nari Shakti. Vedamata is Gayatri. With her it starts, and with every aspect of learning, with every aspect of life, you see the Mata as the Swarupa. And we talk about this culture as a patriarchic society. A very male-dominated society will never think of Nari to be fit of worship. We're talking about a very systematic society that revered the matrutva in everything. Yadhevi sarvabhuteshu matra rupena sanstita, kshita rupena sanstita, trishna rupena sanstita, namastasyai, 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 namo namaha. So be it bravery, be it education, be it wealth, be it wisdom, it was all Devi Maya. So let us look at a few things about women in ancient India. This section covers just the women. Women enjoyed a high society, a high status and independence in Vedic times. They had free access. Not only they had free access to education, they were educators as well. We'll see a couple of slides later. They participated in public debates and sacrifices. When I say sacrifices, it's yajnas, and with mantra drashta. Now, I did not want to say they contributed to the Vedas because they're mantra drashtas. And we'll see a few. I tried making a list and I was exhausted. At one point I gave up because there are so many. So we have Devamata Aditi, Vishwavara Aitreyi, Ghosha Kakshavati, Aditi Dakshayani, Romasa Lopamudramata, Juhu Brahmajaya, Yami Vaivashwati. Yami Vaivashwati was the twin sister of Yama. Apala Atreyi, Urvashi in Pururavas. Indrani, Goda, Suditi, Angirasa, Shashwati Angirasa. I'm reading out all this. I don't have to, because if I don't read it out now, I'm pretty sure nobody is going to listen to it after the talk. So, Tvashta, Garbhakarta, and Dakshina Prajapatya, daughter of Prajapati. Shikandanyava, and Vashukrapatni, Shraddha Kamayani. Sarparagni is like the queen of Sarpas, Vasuki. Surya Savitri, we all know her. And Jharita Sharanga. Sharanga. Ratri Devi, which is Ratri Bharadwaji, Vag Ambrini, Shachi Polomi, Shikta Nivavari, Sharma Devashuni, and Indra. Now, these are all richas. You can go and verify. These are all richas written by the particular Rishikas. And in addition to this, you also have people figuring in the Upanishads, like I talked about earlier. Sulabha, Lilavati, Maitreyi. Lilavati is not from the Upanishads. Maitreyi, Shashwati, Kshana, Garki, Kardru. Kardru is Garuda's aunt. Juhu, Vagambrani, already given here. Paulomi, Devayani, Nodha, Akshita Bhasha, and Gaupayana. If you know more, just add to it. You can keep on going. The more you dig, the more it comes. And we are talking as if the entire Vedas are written by just a bunch of males, and they were trying to suppress women. Far from truth. All of it is a combined effort of a great society of free thinkers. Of these, Maitreyi is the wife of Yajnavalkya. She's a knowledge seeker. A separate strand will come out of it later. Brahmavadini Gargi had a great debate with Yajnavalkya. I wanted to tell the story here, but we are running out of time, so I'll go quickly. Leelavati is the daughter of Bhaskaracharya. So she was a mathematician herself. And Bhaskaracharya's work is also called Leelavati, geared towards teaching her. And women in general, they, we talked about the character building and all those things, but enjoyed privileged positions. What I want to talk about here is Panini. He also talks about something called Chatri Shala. Chatri Shala is basically like Chatrashala, is where women used to be going to boarding schools with acharyanis. So you see, there was a system of Gurukula where women used to go to school too. Now I have a question here. So boys went to school, girls went to school. Was there co-education? We'll talk about co-education later. Now, if you look at all these patas, you'll see Upanayanam. You'll see that strand there. Upanayanam was performed on girls too. It's not just a male-only thing. Even Yakshinis had Upanayanam. Upanayanam is initiation into the Vedas, right? It's a ceremony that says, now you're ready to do your Vedabhyasa. Now, co-education. Co-education, you have somebody marked something on the screen. Was there a question? Sorry, was there a question? If not, I'll move on. Okay, so Bhavabhuti is a playwright of the 8th century. So he wrote a book called play called Malathi Madhava, where you have Kamandaki, who is friends with Bhurivasu and Devabrata. They are studying in the same Gurukulam. Same thing with Uttara Ramacharita. There is a reference to an Aitareyi or Atreyi, who is studying with Lavakusha. Now, we also had Tantrikas. One of the Tantrikas that is very famous is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's biography of Bhairavi Brahmani. But there were so many Tantrikas in addition to Tantrikas. And it's nothing to do, anyway, I won't get into Tantrikas now. We'll talk about it later. But until 1950s, you had almost an equal amount of sadhvis and sadhus. And now that has dwindled since. It is all because of how the society has perceived and supported our traditional system. For a better future, things have to change because slowly we are becoming aware of the past. Now, Indian education system. We also had Arthashastra clearly stating women archers, bodyguards for the king, spy, and even trained assassins. Now, they were employed by the government and they were in high positions too. Now, I had an appeal for Nari Shakti, meaning knowing the past, and women should take charge from now on. You should move on because men have obviously proven themselves useless. At one time, Bharatanatyam used to be for male only. Had you left it to men alone, Bharatanatyam as a art form would be dead today, it would be extinct. Women have come forward to preserve it, and it's thriving just because women took a primary position. Now, ignore the picture on the screen. That has nothing to do with anything. It's only a suggestion. But take charge and go back to the roots and educate your kids to move forward with the Vedic teachings. Because girls will lead the future and will lead in ancient form. They are creative thinkers. Now, why am I talking about Gurukulams in an age where we're talking about machine learning and robotics? Gurukulam is something of the past, but can it offer something to our children to take us into a generation where we have machine learning and robots running the game? Well, it all comes down to left brain versus right brain, automation versus creativity. There is a lot of myth and fear surrounding robotics, thinking robots will take away all the jobs. Before I go forward, want to ask, do we have enough time or should we wind up at 8?
No, we have enough time. Don't worry about the time.
Okay. So I want to tell you about the myth, because at every point when there's a technology improvement or when there's a revolution happening, people protest because they don't want to give up the present for an unknown future. They like the groove on their couch much better than risking it all for some unknown future. So back in the days when the toilet system, the flush system, there used to be manual scavenging throughout the world. So all the sewage used to be manually done. And when the flush system was introduced, initially there was a fear that the manual scavengers, they had a stage protest saying that our livelihood is going to go away. And it happened. Now it's disappearing. Unfortunately, it's disappeared, because that is one of the most humiliating things that a human has to do. And that modernization has led to betterment of the community, not worse things. Same thing, when computers were introduced, many bank employees went on a protest saying, computers are going to take away our job. Typists, stenographers, telephone operators, I don't even know, kids know what these things are. Because now a manager sits and types. Back in the days, he used to call the stenographer, take note, type it. Or if he wants to get connected to somebody, it'll be a telephone operator going and connecting on the switchboard. So switchboard operator. So these are all jobs that are gone. Doesn't mean the world is a worse off place. It simply means that humans will do human jobs better and automation will do automatable jobs better. As simple as that. Question, I'm educating the kids now for a present that's existing now. if you want to educate them for a better future, you have to understand that automatable tasks or repeatable tasks can be automatable. Innovation cannot be. Second, conformity checks, governance, and all can be systematized. So I want to make a mistake, or I cannot make a mistake when it comes to automated tasks. But wherever an override is necessary, you require human expertise. So for example, in a heart surgery, would I want to trust a computer? Not yet. 25 years from now, it may not be a heart surgery that might be automated, but something else, where a creative mind is required is the things we need to explore. We cannot narrow or cage the mind into, selective thinking and say, this is your path and this is where your job exists. Start educating your kids on an exploratory, creative universe or creative learning, and they will be able to use the robotics better, or the world that exists better then, and than we can now. As simple as that. Applications and innovation will be in demand. So new applications and innovative approach. So for example, any place where you have to make a decision under a lot of pressure, I cannot trust it to a computer yet, or maybe even 25 years from now. Let us say, seeing a parameter of pre-made decisions, would you allow a robot to make the decision to press the nuclear button? Say, oh yeah, okay, these are the things, it fits my machine learning, and now I'm ready to press the nuclear button. Hopefully not. There are places where human beings are needed in leadership, innovation, creativity. And my question at the end is, can a conformity-based curriculum with standardized testing produce a generation of creative thinkers? I'll leave that answer to you. You go and explore. I'm done.
So participants can unmute themselves and ask questions. And again, Sundarji, you're missing the Indra story.
That was part of the Q&A. Okay, so if you want me to tell now, okay. So Indra and there's another person called Virochana. Indra is the king of gods and Virochana is the king of the Asuras. So they both go to Rishi, Dadichi, and they want to know, what is the self? What is Atman? What is Brahman? They don't ask Brahman, but who am I? What is the Atman? And Dadichi says, stay with me for 32 years, then I'll tell you. It's called Antyavasa, 32 years. And they stay, and during that time, a guru observes. He observes them. At the end of the 32nd year, he just says one thing. Whatever you see in the mirror, the form that you see, is the Atma. Virochana is super happy. Both of them go home, but Virochana is super happy. Now he is the king of Asuras. He thinks the body is the Atma, and now he entertains the body, new perfumes and good clothes and massage and all those things. He says very happy, his life is set, and lots of rasagullas and all. But Indra starts thinking, the body is born, the body also dies, it gets old, it has jara, vyadi and all those, parinama, all those things is there. That cannot be the Atma. Atma is changeless. It doesn't make any sense. He goes back to Dadichi. Dadichi says, okay, stay back for another 32 years. He stays back. At the end, Dadichi says, or Dadichi Muni says, what you see in the dream, that is Atma. Indra again goes back, he thinks, he says, no, even there in my dream, I have happiness and sadness, my emotion changes, I have fear. And that is temporary. Once I wake up, dream is gone. So he goes back again. And Dadichi says, what? 32 more years. So now it's 96 years. And the thing is, if you really want to learn something, you will be patient and you will respect your guru. So that is the test here. And Indra waits. And Dadichi says, in your sushupti, and when you're completely, dreamless, what you experience is the self. And Indra thinks about it. Now, again, I'm cutting off the parts where he goes back and thinks and comes back, but he thinks about it. He says, okay, that also cannot be, because in that state, I have ignorance. That also cannot be it. So what is it? And then Dadiji says, now stay back 5 more years. That's why 96 plus 5, 101 years. So Indra's Antyavasa of 101. At the end, Dadiji reveals the Atma, which is, it is the one that is always present in Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti, but is none of the three, and it is a continuum that exists, and that observer self is you. That neither perishes nor born, is is changeless, and is the observer. Indra thinks about it, finally is satisfied, and now he understands. So that is the story of the 101 year of Antyavasa.
Thank you very much, Sundarji. And now anybody and any questions, please unmute yourself and you can ask the questions. Thank you.
As always, fantastic session, Sundarji. Thank you. One of the challenges we have is creating Gurukul kind of an atmosphere at home. What are some things that we can do to create that? Because first of all, we work and by 6 o'clock I'm done, I'm tired. So that, even though I want to create that atmosphere, that something gets missed. So what can we do to create that, the Pitra, the father side of Kula Vidya?
I already showed the mother side, what Nari Shakti can do.
Okay.
The weapons. Huh? Nari Shakti can drive the father to do that also. But seriously, the thing is, every father strives to educate the children the way they were educated based on their experience. The first thing you can do is bond and make them understand, because you cannot teach a child who's not interested. So the first thing is cultivating the interest and putting them in a situation where they understand the need to be educated. Same thing in psychology. I cannot help a person who doesn't want help. It'll be a nuisance. First, for us, like one thing is, if I'm telling my child Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, I'm not doing it myself, it's going to be a problem. So the child always observes the parent. The second is, to be honest, that I had to go through a lot of, my father was trying to teach me. I learned things till I was 10, 12. Then I became a rebel. So the teenage years is a write-off. So if you can teach the children before they hit the teens, it's much better. The second is, mother is kind of the primary influence. Even though the father teaches, the mother also has to support on the other side. There will be times when the child is tired or he feels too criticized. And fathers always try to criticize because they want the best out of their children. And the best way they know it is by, saying, you're not doing your best. There's also stories for that, but not story time now. So small things, or give him assignments like what Varuna did to Bhrigu, exploratory tasks. Ask him to teach you.
That's a very good one. Ask him to teach you is a good one. I will experiment with that. Thank you.
Sundarji, my name is Purnima. I'm in US. I'm curious as to what granth, what books are you reading that you're pulling all those information about what women have done and how they have contributed to Vedas and Puranas.
Okay, many of it comes from, sorry, I'll let you finish the question. Okay, one is that.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I think Education in Ancient India is a book, but I have not read that before the session. That's a book that teaches all about, I can send you a link. I think it's a Google book, but some of it from memory and some of it is from a website where I had the riches, particularly for the riches. I had to resort to a website where it named all the Rishikas and the riches that are written in the Vedas. And for the other ones like Maitri, Gargi and all that, I remember from my childhood. But irrespective of that, I'll send you both the Google link. But again, I'm very not forgetful, but possibly if you can message me, I'll be easier to do that because I don't know how to find you on the chat forum.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll text, I'll chat, I'll put a note in here also.
Sure, because this chat disappears after we leave, right? That's why.
True.
Pratyaksha has a comment on the chat.
Please.
Very good comment.
Sorry, what is it?
Pratyaksha, do you want to read it for Sundarji?
Okay, just speak. Yeah, I'll read it. The curriculum system was made when most people grew up to be factory workers. They were given specific instructions, like in school, and a time limit to finish the job. That is one of the reasons why the curriculum system cannot produce creative thinkers.
Very nice. Excellent. Yeah, it was from the industrial age. Absolutely. You know, there was one thing about the curriculum system. It created workers, not leaders. You're absolutely correct. You nailed it.
Sundarji, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
My name is Purnima.
Pranamji.
So my question is, you said that there were a lot of Rishikas in the past, and suddenly we don't, or maybe like over time, we don't know about a lot of them. So what brought about this change? Like what reason that we've forgotten all this?
That was, referring back to the talk we had like 2 weeks ago, between like even 300 years ago, or even 150 years ago, we had Gurukulas. Like even early 19th century or mid 19th century, we still had Gurukulas. But when the Indian traditional Gurukula system was replaced by English education system, we lost all that, like almost out of remnant. So one of it was the taxation system, especially one that is famously referred to as in Tanjavur. Where Tanjavur, where the temple was supporting the Gurukulas, and the British Raj increased the tax to 59% or almost 60%. And the temples were kind of, the backbones were broken from supporting the Gurukula system. And all the villages, actually, it seems, again, based on the book by Dharampal's Beautiful Tree, it's a book that's must read for all. Probably, I don't know where to put all this. Like I have a lot of links, but I don't know where to put it, but I'll send it to you. In that, it is said that every village had a school. Almost like 100,000 schools all over India. This is documented by the British, not by, the BJP or the right wing or left wing or whatever wing it is. It's the British records that were meticulously compiled by Dharampal, and it's called Dharampal's writing. The book's name is Beautiful Tree. And in that it said that every village had a school, and almost like 60 to 63% of the students were from what we now call the lower caste, right? And then you had very few of the people from the upper classes. So it was like a very distributed model. All that was in the Gurukula system, completely wiped out. And in about 5 to 6 generations, we have come to a state where we don't even remember what a Gurukula system was. And we have completely muddled up understanding of our own past. So this all happened in the 150 years past from 1850 to 1750 to 1900.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sundar, this is Debashish here. I had a question.
Yeah. Yes, please.
As usual, very engaging session. One side of my question you answered when Girish asked about the parent side of it, how we can do our part. My question is related to the other side. You mentioned in your talk that somewhere you mentioned that today's kids, if you ask them about the exploratory system, they would get frustrated and they'll say, what is my parent talking about? What are some of the ways that we can still encourage the exploratory system of reinforcing knowledge?
Okay, should I tell this in the form of another story from Upanishad? Okay, in the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a similar conversation between Swetaketu and his father, Autalakaruni. So Autalakaruni tells Swetaketu, we are all Brahmanas by experience, not by birth, by experience. And you should also go to that guru and learn about Brahma Vidya. So Shvetaketu goes off to Gurukula, he comes back and father asks, did you learn about Brahman? Shvetaketu says, nope. He's kind of arrogant, like usual, like a stereotypical teen. And Audhalakari asks, why? Didn't your teacher teach you? And Shvetaketu says, if he had known, he would have taught me. That's the kind of arrogance he exhibits. Like he's not interested in learning. He doesn't know how to ask a question. And then Audhalakaruni sits with him, and through experimentation, he says, well, like there are multiple experiments that goes through. And in each one, he talks about Tattvamasi 9 times. So 9 experiments to say, this is Brahman, this is Brahman, this, but you are that Brahman. So the question is, when you know the subject and you have passion for it, and your child thinks you don't know or is not interested, the best way to do is a joint experiment. Come on, let's explore it together first. And then, because at one point you want them to get saying yes to all the things you say, and they say, okay, now you go and try it. I'm going to see if you can tell me how to do it. All right. Anything, like any subject matter, first thing, you need passion. And second is, you need the kid to be involved. So it's like a combined effort. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks.
I just wanted to make a comment here. The curriculum system, as stated in the early education system, as in primary, secondary, high school, even undergraduate system, that's true. There is some amount of kind of what you call curriculum. So to be fair to the Western education system, because I don't know how much of the audience has been in the higher education, as in dissertation type of education in the top universities. So what I would say is that that kind of a system is very different from what would be the curriculum system at the early level of education. So to be fair to the Western system, for example, there is an assigned guru, what you call a supervisor in the Western system, supervisor, principal investigator. So there is no set curriculum for you to study and just give an exam. So you are given the liberty to explore, and your principal investigator or the supervisor, he is there to mentor you if you get a good one. And then you spend years exploring the aspect, and even say in courses that you take, it is exploratory. So the guru is not testing you on a curriculum which he has not taught you. For example, it is not a board examination. So there could be probably just 4 problems that he has taught for the entire semester that you are in that course, and he is freely asking you questions on an exploratory type of questions to answer, not specifically whatever he taught, but within the concept of what he taught. So that kind of a Gurukulam kind of an education system, there even in North America, even in the, if you go to say Indian Institute of Science, if you have experienced that kind of an education, you already know that that is also part of the Western education system. It is just, the difference is at a much higher level.
Absolutely. Like what you said, and that's what I said at the early thing. I was saying that I'm highly biased towards making you understand the Gurukulam system. It's not a criticism against the curriculum system. It's just that all this exploratory learning starts at a very early time in the Gurukulam system. That the exploratory learning and your student-based interest and everything starts learning throughout. And you're absolutely right. When it comes to the higher learning or the post-graduation or the PhDs, it would be more exploratory. Yeah. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, I was not criticizing or anything. I was just drawing parallel.
Absolutely.
From in Gurukulam and so curriculum education system. I just don't want the audience to think that curriculum system is Western and Gurukulam is India. So there could be an overlap between the two. It's just at what age they are given the freedom to think.
Correct. Perfect.
Sundarji, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation today. Just a quick question. they say Mata Pita Guru Devam. So when you talk about Mata, what is a mother's role when it comes to educating a child, especially in the Vedic times? Because if you see every procedure, in a family takes from the father's side, correct? So what is the mother's role when it comes to educating a child?
Okay. So mother is the primary influencer in a child's life. And this is seen very often, meaning I'll give you an example. If the mother is very pious, the father is a drunkard, the child will grow up to be more on the mother's side. But if it is the opposite, the child will still be influenced by the mother herself, because the child's primary influencer in both character building and in terms of how it relates to a parent is influenced by the mother very strongly, because there's a direct connection. So in the old days, probably I missed that out in the slide, and that's what I said. Father is the secondary primary educator. So I was just saying that it was a secondary primary, because even though he's the primary in the Kula Dharma, I'll come back to your actual question. The mother prepares the child in terms of character to lead it to the father's Kula Dharma. Whereas when it comes to, I think you were asking more in terms of, it was the husband's Kula and not the wife's Kula. I think,
correct.
Right?
Yes.
So with that respect, I think, so in the past, it is never there are some societies in India which is very matriarchal. So if you look at Kerala, the Tharavadu and all, so it goes more with the mother's side than the father's side. And most of the Vedic time, it used to be more on the Y chromosome. So it used to be father to son, or that was where the lineage or the Kula Dharma would come. So unfortunately, to answer your question, there was no mother's side specific knowledge or specific Kula Dharma that would be transmitted to the child, except for the character side of it.
True. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. Okay, Pushpaji, go ahead, please.
Yeah, one more question. Thank you, Rajanji, for this session. I just want to ask, how do we bring back the importance of women that we had in Vedic times? How do we bring back into the society? As a mother, what can I do to showcase that, yes, women were important in our society, and they, how can I propagate this idea?
Okay, so this is why I took Bharatanatyam as an example. So currently it's exactly the same as the Vedic wisdom, which will be completely lost if you just leave it to the men. I'm not criticizing men here at all. What I mean is, in a changing world, the world has changed. The domain, the topography that existed in 1780s or 1350s or 40, it doesn't matter. We're living in a world where it's modernizing, constantly. And I believe, when it comes to family traditions and holding values, women are not just a strong part, they're essential. They're the tree, the roots, right? So by encouraging our daughters, our sons, but mainly encouraging your child to understand and teach them to learn the Vedas. I know I'm going off orthodox, because girls are not supposed to learn Vedas, which is actually a myth. Once initiated into Upanayana, they can learn, but they can learn the Vedas, but you have to be initiated. Once you start kindling that interest, they will learn, they will preserve. Look at curriculum system now. There was a time when girls were not allowed to go to school. Now girls are topping, like they are getting more better scores than boys. And I was just telling my son today, this curriculum system is totally against boys. Boys get pass marks, they celebrate. Girls get 99, they kind of, they're not happy. They want to be the perfectionists. So really speaking, it is how you do it. I don't know, that's for you to explore. But there has to be a solution. And the solution cannot come from a man. It has to come from you.
Thank you, Sundarajanji.
Thank you, Pushpaji.
Sundarji, I have a question.
We are running a lot out of the time at this moment, so please take this as the last question. So please go ahead, Purnimaji.
Sure. I think my question is quite elaborate, but you don't have to answer if it is too big of a topic.
Okay.
I was just curious about these two systems, about Gurukulam and curriculum system. Nobody right now will send a kid to a Gurukulam based schools, let's say, if it is not taught in English and higher studies and all those, good things that's happening. When you look at future vision wise, how do you see it's getting incorporated in a way that we move away from the curriculum and we also focus on the merit base, let's say? What kind of system is it going to be? Like, what kind of hybrid system do you imagine going forward? I don't think English is going anywhere.
No, we're not talking. Okay. I think that is a very nice question you brought up, because I think the idea of this talk is not to encourage people going back to Sanskrit or going back away or stop learning English. The myth was not the language in which it was taught, but the way of teaching, right? I'll take you to a reference to Michael Moore's movie. It was called, I think, Where Do We Invade Next? Where he talks about the Finland's education model, which kind of slowly is moving towards the Gurukulam system that I was talking about earlier, where children are not taught particular subjects, where it's only 20 hours of schooling per week. Kids can learn whatever they want. And in a very short and very superficial way, the teachers were talking, if the child wants to climb a tree, let him climb a tree. When he climbs a tree, he learns about insects, about nature. Or if he wants to go learn math, go learn math. So it's very exploratory. They don't have standardized tests. There were multiple things about the Finland education model, which I have to dig out, but I used to remember this off the top of my head. But it says that there was a time when Finland was mediocre when it comes to the world level education. There's some innovative test or something. Now they're in the top 3 or top 4 in the world quality of education. So they've not changed the entire education system, but only the way you teach the kids. So you make a child sit in a room for 40 minutes or 1 hour and try to cram the same subject versus ask the child to think. So that's the model we need to shift towards, with creative thinking. I think it's a very good thing you brought up this question, because I'm not asking people to shift to a religion-based teaching system, which would be, not something this talk is intended to do. It is how to take a future need, which is going towards creative mind and creative thinking, and how to start encouraging children to go out of conformity into creativity.
Thank you so much. I already texted at the NAHA group. I appreciate your time teaching us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sundarji, I think it is there is a request to send the books and material links from Som Karanjekar.
Som Karanjekar ji.
Yeah. G to send the request to send the books and other materials to through the NAHA Karyakartas.
I don't have too many books, but material and even the what do you call it? This presentation, I can send it. But the book, the reference to the Rishikas, that also I have. Any additional book you want, I can add the link to it for sure. Absolutely.
Sundararajan, this is Vijay. So I think one of the best thing we can do perhaps is just put it on our website and then send the link, so that we can have that. Yeah, people can refer that whenever they need to, right? Yeah, maybe we can do that.
Way you want to.
Yeah, we'll put it on our website and send everyone a link.
Okay, so fair enough.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for participating in this talk. We will actually see another talk another Tuesday, the next Tuesday, and thank you very much for participating and contributions for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sundarji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sundarji.
Hari Om.
Thank you.